All right, let's dive into this. We're looking at a really fascinating parable today about a world that gets completely turned on its head. It's the story of this super rigid kingdom, totally bound by order, that gets transformed by a chaotic new force. A force that changes, well, pretty much everything, from its technology to the very idea of what power even means. So, right at the center of this whole transformation is this one single, kind of haunting image from the text. Where a king's mighty castle once stood, there's now just silence. But it's not an empty silence. The text says it's vibrating with a mocking laugh. It's totally subversive, it's mysterious, and it completely messes with our expectations of what power is supposed to sound like. So, that's the big question, right? How did we get here? How did the booming commands of a monarch get replaced by the sound of mockery? This text is giving us a really powerful allegory for a radical shift in philosophy, and today, we're going to break it all down. Okay, so before the laugh, there was order, a kingdom that was meticulously, almost obsessively constructed by sorcerers and scribes, all under the watchful eye of a great monarch. This was a world that was literally built to be predictable, stable, and completely unchanging. The whole guiding philosophy of this old world is called static control. And you can think of it as a force that is just dedicated to preventing chaos, no matter what. Every single rule, every structure was designed to keep the world in this fixed, predictable, almost frozen state. This is the foundation that's about to get completely shattered. This table right here, this basically lays out the entire core conflict for us. On one side, you've got the old order, defined by things like static control and hollow fear. And on the other, you have the new sovereigns, who are guided by something called a spirit of becoming and a grave dance. So let's unpack what these pretty wild concepts actually mean. But here's the thing the text points out. This old order wasn't nearly as strong as it looked. Its power was all abstract, built on ideas like flimsy paper and the unearned majesty of a throne. It was this authority that demanded respect but hadn't really earned it, which of course made it incredibly fragile. So what was it that finally broke this fragile system? Well, the text introduces a catalyst, this mysterious substance left behind by three chaotic siblings, something designed to infect the kingdom's rigid veins with, well, life. And they called it living ink. This isn't just a tool for writing. This stuff is an agent of chaos. The source says it gives even the most predictable, rigid technology a spark of unpredictable whim. I mean, talk about the perfect weapon to use against a world that's obsessed with static control. And this was the moment it all began, the cracking of the jagged spire. It was the single event that broke the seal on that old world, allowing the living ink and all the wonderful chaos it brings to just flood in and start the transformation. Now, this next section is absolutely crucial for really getting the text's symbolism. We get to see how the core dream of the old world didn't just die. No, it was remade into something new and strange and, frankly, terrifyingly alive. See, the scribes of the old order, they had this dream. They would sketch these magnificent iron ships on paper, right? It was this clean, technological fantasy of escaping to the stars. It was a perfect symbol of static control, a predictable, engineered salvation that only existed as an idea. But that dream never came true, not in the way they planned, anyway. Instead, those iron ships became these vast machines right here on the ground, rumbling through the kingdom's corridors. And crucially, they weren't powered by logic or steam, but by that chaotic, living ink. The dream became real, but it was messy, it was unpredictable, and it was firmly grounded in reality. And this aesthetic shift is just so stark. The world literally transforms from gray stone and harsh ink to one of vibrant, impossible colors. The city now has pulsing neon veins. It's a constant visual reminder that the sterile, controlled world is gone, and it's been replaced by something dynamic and very much alive. This whole transformation wasn't just technological or aesthetic, though. It was profoundly political. The very symbols of power were subverted, as the ultimate figure of order was replaced by, well, the ultimate figure of mockery. The text shows us this direct replacement of symbols, and it's brilliant. The monarch's throne, this seat of absolute, unquestionable authority, is gone. And in its place, a tattered jester's hat. The command is replaced by a mocking laugh. Power isn't about inspiring fear anymore. It's about laughing at the very idea of absolute authority. This quote right here gets to the psychological core of why the Old Kingdom fell apart. Its majesty was just a performance, a mask hiding the truth, that its power was based on hollow fear. It wasn't real strength, just the illusion of it. And once that illusion was pierced by a jester's laugh, it could never be put back together again. And with this shift comes a completely new value system. Gold, power, titles, all worthless now. The new capital, the thing that has real value, is the honest currency of shattered expectations. In this new world, there is so much more power in acknowledging failure and embracing reality than there is in clinging to the false promises of the past. So who thrives in a world like this? The text calls them seekers or new sovereigns, and they don't try to rebuild the old world. Instead, they've developed an entirely new philosophy for navigating this landscape of beautiful, wonderful chaos. Their guiding principle is the spirit of becoming. It is the direct, total opposite of static control. Instead of trying to prevent change, they embrace it. It's a philosophy that's all about perpetual motion, adaptation, and finding meaning, not in stability, but in the constant, beautiful flow of existence. And the text even gives us their methods, a kind of existentialist playbook for living. First, they gather that honest currency of shattered expectations, just acknowledging reality for what it is. Then they perform a grave dance, finding life and creating meaning right on top of the ruins of the past. They carry a cracked mirror, accepting their own fractured, imperfect nature. And finally, they learn to find the comedy in tragedy, turning pain into the punchline of a grand cosmic joke. It's really a philosophy of radical acceptance. So, these Apollonian gaskets mentioned here, that's a metaphor for the rigid, logical structures the old sorcerers used to try and bind the world. Named for Apollo, the Greek god of reason and order, the new sovereigns, they reject this completely. They don't want to control the world. They want to dance with its chaos. Their entire existence is a performance, not a blueprint. And the story doesn't just end there. We're left with this incredible, provocative image. The tasteless broth of the old world's dead logic is fermenting. It's turning into something new and volatile. The cycle of transformation is never ending. And so we're left with a final, lingering question. This new ink, born from the leftovers of the old, threatens to rewrite the laws of the world all over again. The parable seems to suggest that no order is ever final, and that even chaos itself is destined to evolve. The only real question is, what comes next?